All right, thank you very much for joining me. Friends, it cannot be overstated. We are facing the most pressing public health emergency in recent memory, and the biggest threat to our economy in the history of the province. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, if you live in a big city or a small town, this coronavirus, this pandemic is hurting all of us. Now tonight, the Premier shared with us the possible course the virus might take in Alberta. And I have no doubt these numbers are very troubling to many, many Albertans. But I'd like to reinforce the hopeful elements of the Premier's comments. Our ability to keep these numbers low is within our power and forms a shared responsibility for all Albertans. This isn't just for our own safety, it's for those who are around us, for all of us. That means we must follow the advice from public health officials. We must take this seriously and continue physical distancing. Now, this doesn't mean we stop reaching out to one another. Remember, even though we can't be together, that doesn't mean we have to drift apart. Now, the government also has a role to play, and part of that is to take action to protect those Albertans who are most at risk. Seniors, Albertans with disabilities, those experiencing poverty and homelessness, and anyone who is most at risk. We need our government to centralize, coordinate, and spare no expense to get ahead of the obvious risks that these Albertans face. For example, the government must use the authority it has given itself to take control over the staffing crisis that exists in our senior centres and spare no expense to keep the Albertans who built our province safe. Furthermore, those who are on the front lines, those who are there handling this pandemic, caring for these Albertans, must have all the personal protective equipment they need. And we know we're not there yet. But we cannot expect these people to care for us if we don't take steps to care for them. Now, as the Premier mentioned, we're expecting the virus to peak in May. So we can't wait any longer to take these important actions. Now, the Premier also spoke about Albertans facing financial stress and hardship, those who have lost their jobs or been forced to close their businesses. We know this is beyond stressful. It's incomparable. In the most immediate term, there is more that we must do now to help these families. Most pressing would be reopening the emergency support payments that closed yesterday. We've been hearing from these Albertans each and every day. We know this can't go on. Now, the Premier also outlined some relaunch priorities. It's clear we have a lot of work ahead of us to overcome the impact of coronavirus and reignite Alberta's economy. This will require bold and courageous ideas. And through it all, we must put people first. Alberta families must have the financial security they need to take care of themselves and each other. And we can leave no one behind. This principle must drive all the economic choices that we make now and into the future. The long-standing, hard-working, creative, entrepreneurial spirit of Alberta will not be broken, but it must be harnessed to rebuild an economy that is truly diversified. To this end, our caucus has proposed to the Premier an opportunity for all parties to come together and work on a long-term economic vision for our province so that no stone is left unturned, so no perspective is left unconsidered, and so that the potential of every Albertan is realized. Because here's the thing. While we struggle today, we are not alone. We are together. We have responded as only Albertans can. Even as we stay home, we're still looking out for ways to help each other, to protect each other, to lift each other's spirits. And the best of us, well, they're working twice as hard. They're caring for our loved ones in hospital and our seniors in long-term care. They're restocking our grocery stores and volunteering at our shelters. They're teaching our kids, driving transit, growing food, filling prescriptions, maintaining infrastructure, trucking in supplies, and so much more. This pandemic has also shown us all what we're made of. We're Albertans. And we're going to get through this together, and we're going to support each other. And we're going to come out the other side of this stronger and more ready than ever to tackle the challenges that we face as a province. It's who we are. Because here's what we know. We are always stronger when we have each other's backs, and the path forward will be forged by Albertans sticking together. As Canada's greatest Canadian, Tommy Douglas, once said, "Courage, my friends, 'tis not too late to build a better world." So thank you, and I'm happy to take your questions.
What about the deficit projections that he mentioned, tripling the deficit? Do you think that's realistic? What do you think about those?
Well, honestly, we've looked at that. We've actually been proposing and projecting those numbers for a while now. That's always struck me as quite a likely scenario. So it's not new. But I think what we need to be focused on is supporting Albertans through this time. We know that in other countries that have gone through other major crises like this, that governments that focused on austerity ultimately did not see their economies rebound as quickly as those governments that focused on supporting citizens financially and also supporting the restarting of the economy through whatever means necessary. So we will certainly be urging that, and because that's what we're going to need in order to reignite Alberta's economy.
Why do you want to have this all-party panel to look at the economy? The Premier, of course, is focused on the oil and gas. Is that your concern, that we might, as we try and get the economy going again, to some
Well, you know, the Premier has his task force, and that is great, and there are some good people on there, but I would suggest that we need to broaden our perspective. We need to be much bolder in terms of the kinds of ideas that we consider. We should look outside of potentially traditionally partisan groupings and be very creative when we consider the kinds of ideas going forward. That's what's going to be needed to restart the economy, and to do so in a successful way. We need to look at what's being done in other countries around the world, and we need to consider a number of bold ideas. So I don't want to see Albertans thinking about restarting the economy within a very constrained, narrow set of ideas. I think we need to be much more open-minded. We are, as I've said many times, we are the youngest, best educated, most diverse province in the country, and we are capable of considering a broad range of ideas and pulling together the best for Albertans.